You guys ready to go?
Hey, Brian, can we curse on this?
Fuck yes. Welcome to After the Hype with me, your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, CHEWIE Darso.
Hello.
Jonathan Hardesty.
You almost missed that one.
Close. And Ryan James.
Fuck yeah.
Special guest today. Oh, man, we are so lucky to have this guy here.
Like, top notch.
Like, this is by far our biggest guest on any show. I mean, am I right? We have Tom Ford here to talk about Nocturnal Animals. Hi, Tom.
It's a pleasure to be here, Brian.
Wow, your voice does not sound like your voice.
Well, I just had vocal surgery, so
okay.
give it a couple days.
The bourgeois will come back.
Yeah, it's on its way. So in between doing fashion making films, you decided to come by this podcast. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I decided to smoke a pack of cigarettes and come to the podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wait a minute, Brian. We've had Tom Ford on a bunch of times. You mean this whole time he's been the famous fashion designer?
The same Tom Ford.
My name's on buildings.
Well, I was in Saving Private Ryan.
So if you have not caught on yet, we have a different Tom Ford here.
Oh, don't spoil it.
I have to spoil it before people are like, wait, what?
Yeah, there's legal concerns at a certain point.
Maybe we can get the director to tweet out, check out this podcast I was on.
No, if Tom
be
Ford
fantastic.
tweeted about not being on our podcast, that'd be the biggest our podcast ever got.
While we have other Tom Ford saying, I was there.
Yeah, there was a Tom Ford. You're completely in the legal right.
See, we have a list of Tom Fords we need to get on the podcast.
You were third, I'm sorry.
But yeah, when we used to work together, when I heard his name, I'm like, oh, that must get annoying. And then we had this episode come up. I'm like, oh, I could be annoying.
And now you all get to enjoy it.
Yeah, this is perfect. And he asked that we get all of our good Tom Ford jokes in. I'm like, all right, we'll be doing that the whole episode.
It'll be entertaining.
That's going to be just the whole episode.
Well, I'm doing on Instagram right now. Tom Ford joined us to discuss Tom Ford's Nocturnal Animals.
Completely accurate.
But before we go too far down that whole rabbit hole, which we will, I promise, let's do a quick where have you been doing. I will go first. I'm a little behind the times here, but I finally powered through and I finished Iron Fist.
The end is good, right?
You're not wrong.
Yep.
It's the final 8 through 13 are not bad. They're not very good, but they're not bad. They finally kind of cash in on what the show should have been the whole time.
Right, and we talked about this. I think the difference between you and I enjoying it was I powered through it in 3 days, and you took your time like you're supposed to with a normal show. So by the time I was done with it, I had already forgotten about the bad first half of the season, and you had to sit on it while you waited to watch another one.
And it is so rough. I was talking to somebody today. Today's Free Comic Book Day that we're recording this. I was talking to somebody while in line at one of the huge comic book lines, and he's like, well, is it just good at the end, or is it just better than the first half so you just feel like it's good? I'm like, that's a really good question. I honestly don't know.
Well, I enjoyed it through the whole season, so I would say the ending was actually good, and I think they did a great job tying Daredevil Season 2 to the Defenders.
I feel like they could have done a better job.
They absolutely could.
Like, that was every single step of the way. I'm like, well, that could have been done better.
Yeah.
But they did have a really good fight with somebody doing the drunken style, and that was really cool.
Oh, I love that scene.
They have some really, really cool things in there. But I feel like if you were to go to a fan site, what do I need to watch of Iron Fist, and just watch what they tell you to watch, you'll probably do better than spending 13 hours of your life watching it.
Fair enough.
But by the end of it, they explain why Danny Rand's such a character, and he doesn't feel as terrible as he did throughout the first half. But you still have to watch all of that to get to where it makes sense, and that's where it's they shot themselves in the foot. This is clearly Marvel's first big misstep.
They don't really let the audience know that that the world is aware Danny Rand is not a very good Iron Fist until about 2/3 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wait, he's not really the immortal Iron Fist. He's actually a deeply flawed character, and he probably doesn't deserve this power yet. Oh, this is like a hero's journey. Then you're like, oh, okay, you kind of got to buy in.
Yeah, I just wish I didn't learn that in episode 9.
Yep.
If that had been, if the very first episode had been him escaping Kunlun and people going wait, what the hell is going on? That would explain more. But the first episode is him showing up going, I used to skateboard in the lobby of this building. And it's like, what?
And now I'm the immortal Iron Fist, the most powerful fister in all of the galaxy.
So you're just on the same level as everyone else in the show.
They should have called this show Mr. Fister.
Yeah, and it's like,
Mr. Fister.
I would have watched that.
I'd read that comic book.
But no, the fact that he's the same showrunners doing Inhumans does make me very worried, because I don't think this guy's the best storyteller.
No, I'm not looking forward to Inhumans.
Which is really disappointing, because there's such great material there.
There's a lot of great stuff there, and
There is, and it's not a tone that Marvel has ever put on screen. They could have done it with Fantastic Four. They could have been doing it with Thor. It's like this higher nobility, high family, royalty, and
royalty,
and high fantasy,
isolationism.
Yeah. It needs to feel like Lord of the Rings.
Kind of.
Yeah.
They'd be like the elves.
Yeah, they'd be very much like the elves, like that sort of like family
We're the
dynamic.
hobbits.
Yeah. But I agree. I don't think they know how to. And they might know how to do it. They're going to choose not to do it because if they do it anything like they did in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's like that's not the Inhumans I want to watch.
No, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did a good job of feeling like the I think it's 2014 or 2015 Inhumanity run, where it's like the Terrigen got released and the Inhumans felt more like X-Men than ever before. So that is what the tone the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was going for.
Which is not the Inhumans that I like.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's them replacing mutants with Inhumans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because they can't use mutants, might as well use Inhumans because they're the same thing, right?
No.
Marvel suffers so much from that. If they were able to put the Skrull in the first Avengers movie and the X-Men, they would be doing killer.
Yeah. Not that they're not. I mean,
right.
Oh, no, they're totally failing now.
Yeah.
Well, let me keep this train rolling. Yep. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy last night, and I will tell you that I really enjoyed it, but I did have to adjust my expectations a little bit, kind of like I did with Force Awakens, where I'm like, okay, this isn't like some top-notch filmmaking here. This isn't going to be nominated for any awards, but it's a super fun ride the entire time.
I'm going to ask a question. This is non-spoiler territory. You don't have to press forward 30 seconds or anything. I've heard that it sets up a lot. Does it set up things like Iron Man 2 style, or does it just kind of set up things for greater Guardian stories? Or is it all like, here comes more Marvel?
It's hard to say what it actually sets up because of James Gunn.
Okay.
Like, you could have watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie and go, oh, he set up a Howard the Duck movie. And obviously not.
Sure.
It does. Definitely the post-credits sets up the first Infinity movie.
Okay. But it doesn't, like, waste screen time of the actual story setting up other movies.
Not at all.
So it doesn't it doesn't have the Iron Man 2 problem. It's like, Avengers is coming.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, Whiplash.
Nope. This is definitely a standalone movie with a serious villain, and then at the end of it, you get some semblance of what the conflicts and the relationships are going to be for the first Thanos movie.
Okay, that doesn't really bother me. I'm more on board to see this in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
When Chewie, John, and I will go see it.
Right.
Yes.
It's absolutely self-contained. You don't have to worry about being like, oh, I need to see that next movie right away.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, cool.
Perfect. Chewie, what about you? What have you been doing?
On Tuesday, we sat down and watched Free Fire.
Yeah!
Nice.
And
Wootley.
I really like Armie Hammer, which has just been a true statement since I first noticed his tall, statuesque self in The Social Network.
When there was two of him.
Yeah. And it's not even so much for his statuesque look. I just think he has great charisma and is a good actor.
He has amazing screen presence, and
no
one really knows how to use it.
Everyone just keeps talking about how pretty he is. I'm like, yes, he's very pretty. Da 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 da. This man has got charisma. He's got comedic timing. He knows how. He's just a really talented actor, and it was fun to see that both being used in Free Fire.
Yeah.
It's an ensemble cast, which is I'm not going to go through all their names. They're really great.
Armie Hammer,
Armie
Cillian
Hammer.
Murphy, Brie Larson.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
More.
That guy from District 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Shelter Copley. Yeah.
Yeah. But
lots of people in this. It's fucking
yeah,
fantastic.
they make
Nice.
fun of how pretty Armie Hammer is, while he gets to lean into it and be his funny self.
Oh my! I'm gonna ruin one line. It was in one of the trailers, so if you saw it, it's not a total spoiler. But Armie Hammer gets shot. Everyone gets shot. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah,
Like, that is
everyone
part of
gets
the plot.
shot.
Okay.
But about halfway through the movie, everyone is on the ground because they can no longer stand because they've all been shot too many times.
Awesome.
They're just
But-
moaning
yeah.
and pulling themselves around.
The first time Armie Hammer gets shot in the shoulder, somebody yells from the other side of the room, "Ha! I bet you thought you're too handsome to get shot, didn't you?" That's great.
It's such a great movie in the way that it has humor during its terribleness. It's a great illustration of dark humor that I haven't seen in a while, where it's not as absurd as most dark humor movies like to be, where they make it absurd so then it's okay to laugh at the terribleness. This one's not so absurd. You're literally just watching these people make mistakes and be human in the 70s where there's no cell phones.
Wait, are you talking about Nocturnal Animals? No. Too soon.
But it really feels like it's real time. It's only about
it
an
is. It's
hour
an hour
and
and a half,
40
yeah.
minutes. And I don't want to spoil anything. It's one of those movies. It's all about the interactions, the characters, and the dialogue, and it's fantastic. And I highly recommend everyone go see it because it honestly doesn't have that wide of a distribution right now.
Mm-hmm. No, it's kind of a tough one to find, but if you can, it's
a great shoot 'em up movie.
And that
is not like the movie Shoot 'em Up, because Shoot 'em Up the movie was absurd. This one's very much more real, but also funny at the same time.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley is his film trajectory has been pretty interesting to watch. I think I saw his Kill List many years back at AFI Fest, and that was very, very interesting and has all that violence, but a lot of dark humor woven throughout.
It's like
I'm excited to see this.
Everything that happens in Free Fire makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, this is real. Like, this could happen. I'm not questioning the physics of this moment, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be. This is high up on my list for best of the year. Like, this was the first real contender I've seen this year. That's that's easily going to be in my top 10. It might be in the top 5. Like, we'll see.
Such a well-made movie.
Yeah, I could not speak highly enough about it. And it doesn't have that great of reviews. I think it has a 65 on Metacritic, but it just
because it's not the bombastic shoot 'em up that people want.
The first half of the movie has no music.
Yeah.
It's the whole the action sequence is played for just it's not really action. It's just people in a room firing guns at each other. It's so good. I don't want to I don't want to ruin anything. I'll stop talking. Did you have anything else to add?
No, that was what I've been doing.
All right, John, what about you?
Not a whole lot. Been just pretty busy with work stuff, but I've been playing some Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. Because they have that free trial now where up to level, 30 is free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and since there's not a cumulative level, you basically, whenever you get to 30 of one of the classes, that's where, it's capped at 30, and then you have to pay for more. So, theoretically, you have all these things you can do without having to pay for it. So it's been a really good trial just to kind of test it out, and I kind of like it. It's got some interesting things that WoW doesn't do or ESO doesn't do.
I know it was a long time ago, but back when we did our Dark Souls episode, Tom Riffle talked about playing that game a lot, and he loved it at the time.
Yeah, no, it's pretty fun, and he saw me playing it, and I immediately got a text being like, "What server are you on? Get on it!" And so we figured it out. But it solved a problem that a lot of MMOs have, where it's you just roll characters because you don't feel like playing the same class. Mm-hmm. You're stuck in a class at the beginning, whereas it's just well, I have the lance, I am now Lancer class. I switch over to my sword, I am now Warrior class. And then you develop that class up, and you're very flexible in what you could do. You could put points into all the classes and just spend time in them.
Okay.
So it's a much different way of doing it, and I kind of like it better.
Cool.
Because I have one character only. I've only had one character, whereas ESO I have 8. Because it's I don't feel like doing the long sword anymore, but I put all my skills into that.
Yeah.
Where it's I just switch the costume, or it's based off the weapon. So I switch the weapon, and now suddenly I'm doing, a different class. Or
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, and it looks gorgeous. I mean, the PS4 looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're doing good stuff over there.
Yeah.
Tom, last but not least.
I guess I've been busy designing my hobo fashion line that's coming out in the spring. No, I've been playing a lot of Overwatch lately, which
nice.
I bought in December. It was $40, and I've probably put about 70 hours into it now.
Yeesh.
So,
it's really fun.
It's just a fun shooter. I haven't been really used to the MOBA type of aspect of team building and exercising, so that's been a learning curve, but it's fun. It's just enjoyable.
Did you get to participate in the Uprising kind of PvE event?
Yes.
How was that? Because that was kind of a newer thing.
Yeah, it was team-based, so you're just at the behest of the people that you get grouped up with. Some are smart and some are not. And but on the low difficulties, it was pretty easy to win. And then if you moved up the difficulties, it was very difficult. Mm-hmm. Just the AI changed, they would dodge attacks rather than just stand there. But it was fun for what it was. But by the end of the event, I was kind of done with it.
Okay.
So,
do you participate in the meta narrative of it? The whole Hanzo, you're a Hanzo main.
Oh.
Do you do that sort of shit?
I've probably played the most with Lucio.
Okay.
And I play with the supports because I like healing other people. So, I don't know.
Because once you start getting into the competitive circles, they get really aggressive about which character you play as.
Right.
And
yes.
Hanzo is not a favorable one. Widowmaker's not either, I don't think.
Well, if I see a Hanzo and Widowmaker, which is two snipers in the same quick play game, I'm probably gonna just step out and come back 5-10 minutes later. But
yeah, I usually like to play as Ana, the sniper healer, because that was actually a support thing, and you could kind of hide and just keep healing your team from just a secret area, and I thought that was kind of a nice twist on it.
Yeah, exactly. And then the grenade and all that other stuff that you add. I really like that every character is unique in terms of how you can attack or defend with them depending on what their role is. So,
and I imagine like if you stop playing for a while and come back, it just still feels like you've never really left. I mean, apart from skills, right?
well, I mean, it'd be like riding a bike. You can ride a bike, but then like maybe 2 days later you'd be fine. I'm sure. I don't know. I haven't really put it down yet. I
nice.
bought Mass Effect and I bought Kingdom Hearts, and both of them have basically been shrink-wrapped so far.
You're not missing a lot with Mass Effect.
It's pretty easy to put Mass Effect down, unfortunately.
I'm
That's a shame.
refusing to
So
put it
sad.
down. I will play
It will
that
get better.
game.
I got previous episode I mentioned I got stuck in some geometry, and I haven't gone back. It's been about a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's painful.
I will finish that game.
Yeah.
It will be fun.
Or it will
It's been
finish
so
me.
sad as a wife of a gamer to come home to Brian
Disappointed.
just watching him play Mass Effect and not having fun
Yeah.
after all those years of it being the best thing in your life, and now
Yep.
you're just like, now it's just holding you back.
Thanks, EA.
Yeah.
They've been ruining my dreams since Spore.
Oh my god.
Ugh.
The first real disappointment, or modern disappointment, in my opinion.
Yep.
But I think it's time that we move on to today's episode, because we've been talking for a while. This is a long where have you been doing? I guess we've all been doing a lot.
Well, I thought I kept mine short.
Well, you didn't, because of me.
Well,
It was a.
We've also doubled up on episodes. There's been time
That's
where we
true.
haven't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
hung out.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other for a
Army
while.
Hammer might have, if he ever listens. Enjoy
Speaking
my
of Army Hammer, let's talk
Yeah.
about Nocturnal Animals.
yeah,
He's
Oh,
in
I
it
thought we were done with the podcast.
for a little
where I'm
bit.
like, Army Hammer, how young are you compared to Amy Adams?
He's young enough. So
young
really,
enough to cheat.
really quick, this movie cost N/A. Thank you, Box Office Mojo. It made 10 million and then made another 18 overseas, so ended up around 28 to 30-ish million.
I'm gonna guess it costs less than that.
With
Cast maybe.
Yeah.
cast and
15,
costume,
25.
I'm just because it's Tom Ford, I'm guessing they spent a shitload on
The
fashion.
production design in this
And
movie
glitter.
cost a lot of money.
Yeah, they spent money on this thing.
Cars.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but as far as like actual would it cost as much as say like a special effects heavy film? No.
Army Hammer is younger than all of us.
I thought so. Yeah,
He's 30.
not that
Well,
much younger.
Way to give all of our ages out.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really all the numbers. It had decent reviews on pretty much every site. Won a couple of awards. Was nominated for more. Yada yada yada. So it's time for a breakdown. Tom, are you ready for this? Tom, are you
I
ready
was
to break
assuming it would
down?
be my movie.
Yeah, since you made the movie, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I have a lot to say about this movie. I think I could probably sum it up in maybe about 5 words, though.
Five
Oh,
words.
interesting.
5 words, man.
All right.
So you have 30 seconds to say 5 words. I'm intrigued.
I want to
see how
explore this
goes.
idea later. We'll talk later about this.
Yeah. Okay.
I will probably expand afterwards, but
Okay. Well, you have 5 words in 30 seconds. All right. So Nocturnal Animals, 30 seconds. Here we go. Go.
all right. So Amy Adams reads a book. Well, she reads the book from her ex-husband, and her failing marriage is kind of right in her face, and she has this rekindling with her ex, and she falls in love with the book, kind of starts to fall in love with him, and then they don't go to dinner.
All right. That's good enough.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
very-
yeah.
I mean,
On the
It's a very
surface,
basic-
those things happened.
you
Yeah.
quite literally could have stopped after Amy Adams reads a book. Like, that was.
That
That-
is part where a lot of people have not enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, so that was phenomenal. So as these things go, you do get a chance to make fun of me now if you would like to. You get 1 free shot.
Your beard is incredibly long, and I want it.
That's an odd
Not
insult,
an
but I'll take it.
insult.
I
It's
can't
more-
insult
maybe
people.
it's a
I'm too
threat.
nice.
Maybe it's a threat.
Yeah,
Like
we-
he's gonna shave your beard off later.
There we go. Yeah,
that's
we
probably it.
bring on one of the nicest people I've ever met and ask him to insult somebody. It's not going to go very well.
Your beard is a beard.
Oh no.
Fighting words.
Okay, so here's the deal. This movie, like the hype for it was really kind of like Tom Ford's making another movie, and that was kind of it.
Did his first one do well? I was not aware of it.
It was very, very critically acclaimed. I'm not sure if it won anything. It
I
was
mean, your first one, Tom. Yeah.
yeah. It was a single
awards.
man. It was a fantastic movie.
Beautiful, just emotionally wrecking.
Yeah, it brought kind of like
I see he has a theme.
I
Yeah.
can't watch it anymore.
yeah, it's he's really he's not the guy who made Nicholas Hoult a thing, but he definitely helped his career.
He's one of the reasons why I call him overly pretty boy. Is a serious man.
Yeah,
or
like,
a single man.
Yeah, very different movie.
I know, but.
But no, like that was a movie that kind of put him on the map of like, oh wow, this fashion guy can make movies. Like holy shit! And then he didn't make another one until this, and this one was like, oh wow, so he can still make movies? ?
He definitely waits until he sees it or finds a subject that he wants to delve into.
Yeah, that's true. This feels like a weird choice.
Like
it
books
does.
in
It
cars?
does.
Yeah, like this.
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Well, in one of the things you had me watch after we watched the movie, a Q&A thingy, where he talks about how when you write a book, you're writing about yourself no matter what.
Sure.
And he probably has that in this movie a little bit. I don't know much about Tom Ford. I know he's a fashion designer. That's about it. With that statement from him, though, and the way he depicts Amy Adams in her career as a person who does art, which is very close to fashion. She definitely is into the high fashion aspects of art. Like, there's probably some of him that he feels in her character.
Sure, yeah.
Whether, I don't know how happy he is in his life. I assume he's happy with his life. But even when you are happy with your life, there's things you regret. And her character is all about regret.
Oh, her character is regret personified.
Yeah. So he probably felt something within her when he read this book.
Yeah. The one thing that I find interesting is how much he's willing to talk negatively about his film, even when it's still going through like promo things. And he was apparently very open about things he did not like that he chose to do in this movie, which I think is very fascinating. Like, hey, go see my movie. Keep in mind, this stuff sucks. But he felt that the whole movie is essentially about revenge, which is, it's really kind of the plot line of, for the stuff that Tom wasn't able to hit in that 30 seconds, she was married to Jake Gyllenhaal, who's her ex-husband. They get pregnant, and instead of staying married or whatnot, she goes and gets an abortion.
She never tells him that she's pregnant. Right?
She never tells him pregnant, didn't tell him she's going to get an abortion, takes Armie Hammer to go get that abortion, and then he doesn't find out till he sees her at the hospital in Armie Hammer's arms, and that they don't really say, but that ends the marriage, which is horrible, and it's very sad, and it's terrible. So they say the movie is about revenge in the way of she never believed in him as a writer because he was too romantic and wanted to be the starving artist, and she was unwilling to put in the time and the effort in that relationship because, like her mother told her, the finer life she couldn't live without, which is sad and it's depressing and it's hard to watch. But the revenge in the movie is essentially that he proved to her that he can do it and that he doesn't need her and he's moved on. And the problem that he found was that he leaned a little too heavy into the symbolism of this movie is about revenge. Because he felt if he didn't say it so often, and there's even one point we walk through a gallery and there's a
picture of revenge. Yeah.
There's a new painting that just says revenge. It's like, okay, so he hit that a little too heavy. He's like, I feel like that should have been something people kind of clued into on their own, and I didn't tell them as flat out as I did. And I kind of agree with that. I can
agree with that.
Yeah.
I would forgive it because the word revenge was fractured.
Well,
I mean, like,
what's that about?
I completely appreciate that because that's an artist realizing I didn't trust my audience enough while I was making this.
Yeah, totally.
So he'll correct that in the next movie. I'm sure he'll make another one.
Yeah, I think he will.
But for its inclusion, it's still worth. It's interesting and still worth looking at.
Yeah,
and it's there for the people who don't quite get it.
I mean, perfectly honest, I wasn't thinking revenge the whole time I was watching it. I don't know why that wasn't just the thought process of where I was at, but after I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's what this movie is.
And that was me too. I didn't immediately go to the revenge angle, but as soon as I saw that picture and they had a moment of just like, stop, recontextualize what you're doing with this movie in your head, and that actually kind of helped with the back half.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I don't think I would have clued in on the revenge just because once we got to the abortion part.
I would have at the ending of the dinner where he stands her up. I'm like, oh, that's what this was.
Mm-hmm. You thought he stood her up?
Yeah,
I think he's dead.
That's a very popular
theory on
the
internet that he committed suicide before the dinner.
Absolutely, because every other beat along the way, the real life follows the symbolism of the book, and at the end of the book, he's dead. So at the end of the real life, I think he's dead too.
See, I think I agree more with the theory of that is him letting go of the shackles, if you will, that he had of her relationship.
Could be.
So that version of him is dead and gone, and now he's moving on to live his life.
I mean, the book that he sent her is totally symbolic of his mental state.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, because when he sees her at the abortion clinic, he's looking at her inside of a car with another man in his arms. Yeah. And in the book, when he loses his wife and daughter, it's the same thing of him just standing there staring at his wife and daughter in a car in the arms of other men, not willingly, being stolen from him. Like, his entire life was stolen in that moment where he realized, I lost a child. I didn't know I had a child. And
Wait, I have a serious question. Where did Amy Adams' daughter come from then?
Armie Hammer.
Yeah. She probably,
they had been together for like 16 years or whatever?
19.
18 years?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they say 19 years. So
that
I imagine
makes so much more sense.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like,
but that actually does implicate that she had a child with Armie Hammer just moments after having Jake Gyllenhaal's
she's
abortion.
probably just really fertile for a little bit
that's
there.
crazy. I didn't catch on.
But yeah, so we had the symbolism of the abortion happening the exact same way he loses his family in the book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or at least definitely the way that he felt it happen.
Yeah. And then later on, his character screams, I should have stopped it, I should have stopped it, which is exactly how you would feel at the end of a relationship, even if you're still in love with the person, going, I should have seen things happening, I should have fixed it.
Yeah.
And so it's totally an emotional journey through the book with him. And she, whether or not she realizes it, starts to finally understand things from his perspective, which she probably never did before.
Oh, I'm sure she just thought that he was a child, like an overly emotional child who just couldn't get on with life. Yeah. And although she loved him for that, she knew she couldn't spend the rest of her life with it. So she never got the idea of looking at it from his point of view, and the book definitely did.
Well, it was an interesting depiction of reading, which you're not used to seeing in film, where it's like there was a lot of her projecting onto the story too, I felt.
Oh, well, yeah, because the dad is Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah. Like just that, and then the mom is, we mentioned this before we started recording, the mom is Ilsa Fisher, who in real life gets mistaken for Amy Adams all the fucking time.
But which is also an interesting thing, is like she's in the story, but she's not. Like she's sort of herself, but not. Like there's that sort of projection where it's like, I'm in this all around it, but I'm not that character. Like I'm in denial of me being that character.
Exactly. Yeah, but not totally. Like
not totally. Yeah, and I found that to be probably the most interesting. Once I kind of realized the casting thing, I was like, well, where was this? Okay, cool.
It was a smart casting choice. Like that's one of those like, oh man, good job.
And I think that's the thing that stands out to me the most after it's all said and done, is just the relationship between the ourselves and the book, the written word, the content we consume even now, and kind of as we're not reading, like even if we're watching the movie, we're projecting onto it. Yeah. And I thought that was kind of neat, that back and forth relationship, and not necessarily the author intent, more of like, I felt like it was more of her putting herself into this.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Sorry, go ahead.
Even like when you're a writer, you tend to write about yourself, which is true. But then when you're a reader, even if it's not something like young adult books that purposely make bland characters for you to see yourself in, you will still see yourself in whatever character you're reading.
Yeah, at least a little bit. Yeah. Like very rarely
to attach yourself into the story.
Yeah, it's kind of like a horoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you kind of want to be the person that you're reading a little bit. Like even if you're reading something horrible, it's still kind of like that's kind of how you get yourself into the book.
Mm-hmm.
Escapism.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting how the relationship is different between us and the books we read versus the films that we watch. And that two-way, like that conversation is very different. And the movie does a really good job of that, where it's like the books feel more intimate because that's just how those are. But the film is so cold in its execution. And sometimes I feel like that's kind of how we approach movies, is very much more cold.
Well, they use that in the movie, actually, because everything in real life was very black, white, and gray. And then the book
there's a lot of like reds, like blood reds.
Yeah, but like intense, cold colors.
Yeah.
Even those reds are cold.
Yeah, they're not warm colors, but it's like.
But even everything is at a distance.
Yeah.
Character face. Yeah. We see her, we see more of people just staring and like.
And when we get into the book version of the movie, everything's in the desert where it's very hot, very Auburn and Van Dykes almost, I guess.
Yeah. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about characters here. We've been kind of dancing around Amy Adams for a while now. Amy Adams, who's our show is a very big fan of, at least historically.
We just need to get shirts with like Amy Adams fan club, like that. We need to start that. We started Torch Club. We'll start the Amy Adams fan club.
John, you said something interesting before we started, and I think you're right. I don't think she has a bad performance left.
No, yeah, I agree.
I mean, time will always tell. Maybe she'll get one of those jobs where it's like, I need a paycheck.
But for something where the premise is Amy Adams reads a book, how can that be so goddamn compelling? Yeah, and it's her.
Yeah, because we are seeing her basically destroy herself and fall in love with a man who she's not talking to because of a book he wrote. all while basically saying nothing and just sitting there every now and then, like in a bathtub or on a couch, looking at a book sad, closing the book, and then moving on to the next scene. But there's so much emotion in that sequence.
You're seeing how empty her life is.
Yeah, exactly. But she does such a good job portraying that and showing that. And God, that scene where she's talking to Armie Hammer on the elevator, and what floor? 31. And she's like, that's not our normal floor. He's like, yeah, you should have seen the scene I caused. And they get to that floor. Your floor, madam. And just that look on her face of like, fuck, I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That realization of, yep, he's cheating on me. I knew it. Fuck. And there's nothing you can do about it because that's the world they lived in.
Right? And I half expected her to not say anything, but the fact that she did, and it felt like she was speaking through a molasses layer. Like
she didn't call him out. It was just sleep well.
Yeah, it's like
get some rest.
Every character, every character they show in her world looks like they have something that they're hiding from or just trying to deny that bothers them. The girl that at the dinner party who's like, you can get used to loving to being married to a gay guy.
Yeah,
and she's married to Martin Sheen, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Right? Is that his name? Did I get it right?
I forgot now.
I think Martin Sheen?
Michael Sheen?
Michael Sheen? Is that it?
Oh, okay.
I get them mixed up.
I'm just bad with names.
Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't remember Martin Sheen.
But so she's like denying that. I mean, of course it's upsetting to be married to a gay man. You can't tell me it's not.
Yeah.
Like there's love, but there's not like love there. And
they're all empty people.
And then you get to her, I don't know if it's assistant or co-owner or whatnot of the gallery.
I think it was an assistant, but yeah.
I forgot her name, Jenna Malone. And she clearly sounds like she would like to be at home with her daughter.
Right.
But she's trying to cover that urge up by being like, look, I can watch her on my app. I'm like, but you don't actually sound that happy about it. You just said that you hate your nanny. Like, so they're all like stuck in their little world where they feel like, if I just look amazing at all times, I'm definitely happy. It's like, no, you're not. None of you are happy.
Yeah. And it's weird because I've met people like in sort of like the fashion world, and some of them can be very happy people and they just love what they do. But you got to imagine, just like any other walks of life, there's people there who fucking hate it. And this movie does a very good job showing the people like, I can't quit because then what do I do?
Oh, they said it. There was a line in the movie about it. It was nobody likes their job. Or nobody's happy in their career. Something along these lines. Yeah.
Well, this is when she was talking to not Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael
the wife
Sheen.
of Michael Sheen. But she had the good point of like where a lot of people, and Amy Adams says, I feel so ashamed that I'm unhappy. And she's like, no, don't. It's all relative. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks for us to look at people that have everything and then you're like, how dare you be unhappy? But it's true. You can be incredibly unhappy with your situation and feel just as stuck.
That's where the phrase money can't buy happiness comes from.
It's funny because these movies keep trying to warn us of this, and yet we don't listen.
Yeah. I want more money.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want our money to be rich. We just want to be able to afford a house and a kid.
Right.
And healthcare. Topical.
If I get a kid, well, good thing we're adopting because all those pre-existing conditions won't matter as much.
That's right. You won't have any if you adopt.
Yeah.
They'll all already be there.
Oh my God! If the Republicans secretly want to get more people to adopt, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, let's not give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the book people a little bit.
Yeah, this is my jam.
Yeah, like this. There's a problem that I've been. I listen to a lot of movie podcasts, basically to kind of see what I shouldn't talk about because that's the nature of our show.
Right.
And everyone who talked about this movie all had the same complaint. And after watching the movie, I fucking hate them all.
Okay, what is it?
They didn't like the movie. Almost unanimously, all like the Nerdy Movie Podcast do not like this movie because the story of the book is more interesting than the story with Amy Adams. And I'm like, yeah, but without Amy Adams, the book does not exist, and they work together perfectly.
They do.
Yeah, sure. I have no problem with that because the book is hyper real. That's
exactly
the whole point.
Yeah. So like I just want to see a movie of the story in the book. I didn't want to see anything else. I'm like,
We saw both.
Yeah.
We saw a multi-layered narrative. Yes.
And it's like by having the other one is that much better. Like,
Yeah. To be honest, when they started the book, I wasn't sure, and I'm sure this is the point, but I wasn't sure if it was something that had actually happened to them in their past and maybe led to their divorce. You know, where
That's
like
what the trailers definitely made you think.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I
that's
definitely
the-
didn't
yeah.
watch any trailers for this, so that sounds really cool. But then the moment he finds so there's a short period between the moment he finds them dead where that totally loses me, and I'm like, bullshit, this is awful, until Michael Shannon shows up. So there was only about 15 minutes, but then
I'm
the
not even
movie
sure if it's
gets
that
great
much,
again.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Michael Shannon's good in this movie.
I feel the way about Michael Shannon that you guys do about Amy Adams.
Oh, he's
no.
an amazing actor.
No, I totally
Yeah.
agree about Michael
Yeah, yeah.
Shannon.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal and absolute. He made Zod like a new, refreshing, cool character.
Yeah.
In a movie that did not need to do it. Like,
Yeah.
he's so good.
His facial expressions in this movie just killed me the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love him.
And just the end of the movie where, or the end of the story in the book, where he has lung cancer and he is going to die. Like, he knows
Yeah.
it. There's no way he's going to say. And at that point, like, all the things he's doing are very illegal.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't care. He's like, what are they going to do? I'm going to die anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Michael Shannon's the shit out of it.
Yeah. And it's just so good.
Yep.
But his character, like, even beyond that being good, his character is so compelling. And, like, the first, I want to say, like, 2 scenes with him, I'm like, this is the guy who was up for an Academy Award? Like,
Yeah.
I love Michael Shannon, but he's not really. And then it just gets better and better and better. And you see how much personal investment he actually has in it.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, he feels very detached. Just kind of like, yep, this is the job I
That's
got.
one thing I kind of noticed is like, he's really too in. Like, it was an offhand comment I made when we watched it. It was like he's too into this investigation somehow, and it's like, and I think that's maybe the problem is that the bridge between the two types of movie,
Yeah.
it's a little shaky in the beginning.
Yeah.
And once that relationship really solidifies, but that's, now that I think about it, that's the relationship we all have with books in the very like first maybe 20, 30 pages.
Sure.
It's a very rocky start
Yeah.
to a book. And I guess, that just changed my opinion on it. I think it works better thematically that way, that I, as a viewer, had a harder time getting into that second movie or that second story until we got further into it, until she started getting wrapped into it.
Yeah.
Even
well,
more.
I don't know.
That relationship got a lot stronger for what you guys were saying.
Yeah. The abduction sequence is still one of the hardest things I've had to watch. In a long
That was
time.
stressful.
Like, that was. Well done, Tom. Like, that was that was
That was a coup de grace of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many moments
That's
where
why
you
people
can.
were like saying they want that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see so much maturity in the way that was portrayed, just specifically like when they're in the car. I love it when he's saying, "That's why I love West Texas, because there's no one here."
Yep.
And then when they get past the car and the daughter gives him the finger, like, I've had that moment.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was
Who
young
has
and I
it?
wanted
Like-
to do that, and they give him the finger, and then my parents are like, "Don't do that," and you're like, "Why? What are they going to do to us?" And then you're like, "They can do a lot to you."
Show your kids this movie if they flip someone off.
Yeah. Do you want to see what can happen? This can happen.
Don't be willy-nilly with that finger.
This is a great time to lead into my new favorite character actor, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Holy
as
shit.
Ray. Totally killed it. My
Total
God.
psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, oh my God. Like, and he nails every aspect of the character of just like being
Yeah.
like the super angry, like redneck guy
Yeah.
who's horribly threatening while saying unbelievably nice things.
And
Like,
totally
oh,
believes himself. We're like, I might be okay. Everything that's going to happen to you is because of you. Where he
Yeah.
says later, if you hadn't have said that, I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
There's this trajectory.
that entire speech of the like, if you say you're gonna cheat, you say I'm gonna go fuck other women, I'm gonna go fuck other women. You say I'm a rapist, well now you're getting raped. It's like, this makes sense to you, and like you
Yeah.
can see it makes sense to that character, and it's just like, as a human being, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, it's so hard to watch.
Well, you learn everything that's wrong with him when you see him taking a shit on his front porch.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
got a toilet outside. That's fine.
But yeah, him winning the Golden Globe for this thing, it makes me more annoyed that he wasn't up for the Oscar. Like, he was
Yeah.
so good in this movie. I'm sorry, John, you were about to say something. I just steamrolled you.
No, it's fine. It's just his acting career is very interesting, and that
Yeah.
there's a lot of times I'm like, oh wait, that's him. That's
Yep.
Quicksilver. That's the guy in Anna Karenina. That's the guy
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like then you start going back to all these ones that you've seen him in, and you've seen him in. It's like, holy crap!
Godzilla, don't forget.
Yeah.
And
No,
Godzilla.
Godzilla, everybody forget.
Hey.
Yeah.
I love the movie. He's the worst part of it. Through
No.
no
Yeah.
fault of his own.
No.
But
He does a great job with what they gave him, but they gave him nothing.
Well, when no one directs
They both
him,
are.
I mean,
yeah.
Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are both the worst in that movie.
Yeah. Not their fault.
yeah.
But ugh.
But still, his career is very interesting to watch because there's a lot of him, but then you're like, this is really good.
Yeah.
How do I not follow this? How do I not follow him?
Yeah, I will watch anything with him in it at this point. Like, he's that interesting. I mean, he's doing like some like I don't remember. I think it was an Iraq movie or something like that coming out soon. I'm like,
The wall, isn't it?
yeah. And I'm like, that doesn't really look interesting to me, but I'll watch it because he's in it.
No.
I might not see it in theaters, but I'll watch it.
Kind of like, I'll watch anything with Armie Hammer in it, which makes me sad. I haven't seen Man from U.N.C.L.E. yet.
Yeah, we should watch that.
Yeah.
Armie Hammer and Superman. I'm in.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think? Did you have a favorite character in any of these worlds or anything? You've been a little quiet.
Yeah, I have been a little bit quiet. Well, like you said, Aaron Taylor Johnson, phenomenal performance. I got to say, I did like the detective guy who's dying of lung cancer.
Yeah.
Although there is the trope of him coughing about a third into the movie, and then, okay, he's dying.
Yeah.
Because nobody coughs in movies unless they die.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. So.
I like that they took it further, where he starts throwing up.
Yeah,
at crucial
like
moments.
he's definitely dying and hands the gun over. That's great.
No radiation affecting his body or something.
That was I love that sequence of just like that. Here, hold this. I'm gonna go throw up. It's just like,
it's a lot of unique ideas, but also wrapped up in something familiar, I guess, in the movie. Like the concept of a stick up with two guys and one of them sick. Like I haven't seen something like that, and just even characters just reading a book, and that's the main through line. That's the bookends of the movie, if you will, is her reading the book.
Yeah.
I haven't seen things like that before.
I feel like anyone who says don't write passive characters should watch this movie and then go like F off. Because you can do it well.
There's a point to it
can be
sometimes.
done. Yeah. Like it's a rarity, but when done well, it's very intriguing. Like they nailed it in this. The other thing that I thought was really interesting and really well done in this movie that I really everyone talks Michael Shannon, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Amy Adams. Jake Gyllenhaal's fantastic in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Really? I was a little let down by Jake.
Really?
Yeah. I thought I was like, oh, he's just Donnie Darko again. I mean, he played the different characters well, and I did a press junket with him, and he's not that character in real life. He's very normal, human being. He's not very quiet and weird. But I guess aside from that, I've seen this character out of Jake Gyllenhaal so many times. I didn't need to see it rehashed.
I've seen it before, but I'm not really saying that the one character's been the other. I think it was the duality of the two vastly different roles in this movie, but you still get that it's the same guy in both of them. I think that's more interesting. So the fact that he plays like the starving artist writer guy, and then you see the book and you see how he sees himself.
Right.
And like I think that's what was really interesting because you can totally see how that guy thinks of himself as that guy.
Right.
And that performance alone I think was phenomenal. Whereas I agree with you, like if you just look at them separately, it's like I've seen him play both of these roles together.
True.
But I think he did such a great job making them tied together that it elevated both those performances.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily fair that he is working with Amy Adams and Michael Shannon.
See, I think
that's
he
the
held
other
up.
thing.
He held up, but like I think that
but yeah,
it's easy to kind of dismiss that duality he did was very nuanced.
He was
and
definitely
layered.
the one straight man in this whole movie. Like, and well, it's kind of two different straight men, which is kind of interesting. So
yeah. But yeah, it's tough to steal a scene when you're in a scene with Michael Shannon.
Right.
And like that's been true of his career from the beginning. Like you go back to like some of those ones he was nominated for a long time ago. I'm forgetting the name of them now, but like Michael Shannon's been amazing from the start.
Yeah. If you guys haven't watched Boardwalk Empire, his character is my favorite in that
amazing.
show.
Yeah. He came into my Starbucks once when I was in Chicago and I comped his coffee and he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "'Cause you're you, man."
Yeah.
You are you.
And he just gave me a look like, "Okay," and then he walked out.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons he's such a great actor. It's because he doesn't care.
Yeah.
I don't think that man has much of an ego.
Oh, and then when he tweeted, "It's really hard to pee in these flippers," on the set of Superman, just like blew my mind. It's so good. He loves trolling people too.
He's just got this really kind of dark, twisted sense of humor.
He absolutely
And
does. Yeah.
This role was perfect to show that.
Yeah.
Like just everything he did in this. Like every time he shows up, I'm like, oh, I'm more excited for this scene now that he's in it.
Yeah.
And I think to backtrack a little to Jake Gyllenhaal, I think it is kind of a thankless task to be the victimized husband or the kind of the straight man who suffers this kind of thing, because you get overshadowed by the act itself, the criminals themselves, and all that. And just there's one scene where he screams at the guy near the very end, where it evoked like this Nightcrawler thing. That same movie, I got scared of Jake.
That's the problem.
And
the
it was
last
really
thing
great.
I saw him, it was a Nightcrawler.
And I thought that was a great moment. Just that it was such a stark opposite to his kind of holding it in the real world.
Yeah.
That because we've only ever seen him just kind of hold it in and be like, oh yeah, okay, fine, whatever. And to see his kind of id kind of break out a little bit.
To see him go from the guy who finds his dead wife and daughter and go, are they okay? And to that yell, yeah.
Oh, that seems rough.
Yeah.
And it's even more rough later when Michael Shannon tells him how it happened.
Yeah.
Like that.
And that
God.
whole scene is constructed like a fashion setup almost, in the way that the bodies are laid, transitioning to the young daughter.
Oh, big time.
Very magazine spread.
Well,
and it was such a great.
It was
And did
familiarized
the
to
imagery-
the beginning of the
Very
movie as well with the
symbolic of
Art history.
purity in the garbage of the world, because their skin was
Clean.
completely clean and white. on a red couch, which symbolizes sin, surrounded by burnt trash.
Yeah.
Like that was like you said, a total like magazine quality spread, and Tom Ford brings out his fashion thing into films in a great way.
He has an eye for design.
Yeah.
There's no denying that.
It's probably a great time to bring up like how well they actually handled that these women were raped and murdered too. Because they cut straight. I mean, they never actually showed any sexual assault on camera.
They show a little bit. They show
blurry dream sequence things.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that one. But even when they're abducting the girls, they don't really go too far.
And that's what, like, as I'm watching it, I think that's part of why I had that pit in my stomach the whole time. I'm like, I do not like. Maybe when I was in my 20s, it didn't bother me as much just because I was more detached and a bit of an idiot. But now, like, the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't need to see rape in movies.
Right.
I get it, even if it's motivated and it makes sense for the story and it's a great movie. I don't want to watch it.
And it used to be shocking, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, now it's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't.
Rescue Me.
It's stressful,
Yeah.
it's agonizing, and it's just not fun.
Yeah, like there's almost nothing artistic in it anymore for me to be like, you can do it better. And this movie did it the best way possible, where you know everything that happened. It's unbelievably difficult to watch, and it's gut-wrenching. But they didn't have to go and show you all of it to make it be all those things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Hitchcockian.
It's a lost art.
And actually, that the score I felt was very like classic '60s violins, orchestra, same sort of vibe. Was a Hitchcockian sort of movie.
Yeah, and the kind of similar. This is another one of the things where we were watching, just kind of like behind the scenes stuff and that sort of thing online. And we found a guy who kind of went through everything of like the things you didn't see in the movie, which I always kind of find interesting. The couch is the big one. The first time that he has her read one of his books, and she tells him that it's good, maybe you should take a break, is the same couch that the guy in the book finds his dead wife and daughter on.
Oh, that's good. Another one I caught
moment.
was when they first meet again in New York. They're standing outside of a car dealership, and in the window is the car that the gangs were driving.
Yeah, like there's little
that
things.
That car pops up like 3 different times.
It does. Yeah, but whenever something horrible is about to happen to Jake Gyllenhaal, it's that car, and that car is there.
And that car is green, and then she wears the same shade of green on her in her dress when she goes to dinner.
Yeah, the imagery and symbolism is my highest point for watching this movie.
Absolutely,
like even above Amy and Michael's performances.
Yeah, everyone's great in this movie, but there's a way that something about the way that you / other Tom Ford make this movie that he just has such an eye for like the design and just like the unfolding of a movie that it's I don't want to say it's unparalleled, but it's rare. You don't see that very often. And I think because he doesn't try to pump out a movie every other year, and he's constantly a filmmaker, but he only does it when he finds, as CHEWIE said earlier, the story that speaks from him, something he wants to tell. It makes those that much more special, like that much better.
And being a fashion person, he just has the confidence to make bold choices. Yeah. Because that's really, if you want to get noticed in the fashion world, you got to be kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. You got to make stuff that people won't necessarily actually wear, but love to look at.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the guts to do that in movies these days, because for a lot of people it pulls them out, or it doesn't feel appropriate to the thing, or they don't get the symbolism. And so a lot of movies, especially movies that want to make money, just don't do it. And it's great to see him do it.
I mean, if you look at how the movie starts, it's completely opposite of like what Hollywood would normally do. Like, these women, they're beautiful, but they're big. They're not, Hollywood beautiful.
They're free. They're moving.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's another thing that we saw in that video. It's and apparently the guy who saw this video was talking to one of the guys who made it was talking to Tom Ford about it, and he nailed it. Apparently, it's that the women in the opening of this movie, which I have one friend, I won't name him on this, who started the movie. He got it as like a screener for the Academy. Started it, watched about 3 seconds of the opening, went, "This is gonna be too artsy for me. I'm out." Turned it off.
I will say I did fast forward because I was watching it on the subway. So I was like, I didn't expect nudity here.
Yeah,
because the rest of the movie isn't like that. But when you watch the movie, the symbolism of the beginning makes sense.
Oh, yeah. So the symbolism of the beginning that apparently was supposed to be meant, at least what this guy said and Tom Ford said, "Oh, you're great, I love you," was that these women who are not the standard of beauty, they just straight up aren't. I'm not trying to be an asshole, I'm not being a dick, but you look at a magazine, you will not find these women. And that's pretty much any magazine. These are just very...
If you do, they're going to be photoshopped and curved down.
Yeah. These are very...
sections are gone.
Exactly. These are large women with big bellies. They have scars.
And they're not restrained.
Yeah.
They're not fitting into the mold, but they're also free, living it with it. They're enjoying it.
But they are the happiest you could ever see them, and they're just dancing stark naked. And the idea is that these women are free. Like, they just, no cares in the world. They love life, and they are doing whatever the hell they want, and they want you to do it too. And then you watch the rest of the movie about a woman who is trapped and could not be any more the opposite of free.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think they ever show her character outside. Like, when she meets Jake Gyllenhaal in the flashback, they're outside. But when she's married to Armie Hammer, she's always behind glass.
Yeah, I think
Pretty
that's
much true,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Which
So-
adds to the
Even in the
porcelainization
car.
of her skin too.
Right.
Especially like even when she's reading the book and she gets pulled out because a bird hit the glass on her window or whatnot, and she gets up and she looks like she wants to go out and help the bird, but she just stares at it from behind the glass, touching the glass.
Yeah.
She doesn't go outside.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't catch that one. That's
Yeah.
good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I wish Tom Ford would make some music videos. Tom, go make some music videos. Because
I'll talk to Michelle Gondry.
yeah, you
Yeah,
should.
there you
Oh
go.
my God, you'd get right on that DVD collection with David Fincher and Michelle Gondry.
Yeah.
Because I do, like I said, the cinematography was so fantastic. The lighting, the colors, the symbolism, the parallelism. But there was definitely something lacking in some of the writing and directing to me,
I don't think it was in the directing. The writing a little bit. I'll agree with that.
or maybe the editing.
I
The
think
editing was-
maybe a little
the-
bit.
It took me a bit to get used to the editing.
I would say the
Yeah.
editing was probably the strongest thing, because the writing, I don't think I would disagree with that, just because of the duality of the two stories. That's a big part of the writing, and I think they pulled that off. Some of the lines are a little wonky, but again, I think that's just kind of what they wanted.
I mean, there's something that threw me off about
I-
the
There
movie.
is a thing. There is a thing
Well,
that
I
the
think
it's all the
melodrama
overhead
threw a
shots
lot
at
of
the very
people
beginning.
off.
Yeah, the melodrama from one usually throws a lot of people off, because melodrama is not a very common thing these days.
Right.
But I think you hit the nail on the head with the editing. The editing was an odd choice. And I can't really say what it was about the pacing, but like,
It was very abrupt when it would switch.
yeah. And it was a
Small jump cuts, the ones that like don't necessarily feel necessary.
They make you feel more unease when you watch
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
you're not sure why. So
Which
it's,
Yeah.
well, it's good, and I'm like in tune with that. Like, I'm very comfortable in the realm of unease and being thrown off by production techniques, but I don't think they nailed it.
yeah.
And I think for me, I never recovered from that horrible scene of the kidnapping and the rape. That initial thing, I never recovered for that stress. So then for the final punchline to be just that it's just, I'm going to stand you up at dinner. Like there's kind of this feel like the punctuation it ends on feels weird.
And you know,
And it's harder to put into words.
See,
I
would disagree, just because I think that final punchline is a fucking devastating blow. Because when she was going to that dinner, that was her escape. She was finally found a way out of this bullshit life, and she's going back to what she wanted, and she was excited. She took part of the makeup off. She'd done herself crazy done up like she had for everybody else. For this one, then you see her take most of it off and go way more subdued and look like herself again. And she was excited, and she couldn't wait, and then he stands her up. That was the best hit possible, but it's so subdued and it's not played up like most movies are. Like, it didn't have this great crescendo. It was more of a just
I mean,
and
it's,
that was the
what I
best way to do
it's
it.
violence without violence.
Yeah.
and it's real life. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happened.
I
Yeah.
mean, everyone
Probably.
always talks about being ghosted hurts more than anything else.
Yeah.
And that's what he did to her. He ghosted her.
That was the that was devastating. Like, I love the ending of that. Fuck, I love it. Like, it's perfect. Like,
Yeah.
that was the best way to get back at her. And because you can't do anything too dramatic. You can't fucking kill her. It's real life.
Yeah. How do you get back at a woman who gets an abortion? I mean, I will never villainize anyone. It's every woman's right to get an abortion with whatever. But from his perspective of him not knowing that she was pregnant, him killing his child, like I have some sympathy for that. And how do you get back? Because it is her right to do what she wants with her body.
Absolutely,
And this
yeah.
is the only way he could fathom that he could get back at her.
And that's why I think he killed himself, because and not only because he's such a romantic and such a writer personality that would be the ultimate punctuation, but that is the ultimate way to get back at her too, is to make her fall in love with him again and then be gone.
I don't think he was that.
He had to create something to take away from her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that he was that. I'll use the word from the movie. He wasn't that weak. She thought he was weak. I don't think he was.
That might be that's interesting, because it's one of those things where that's not a weakness suicide, that's a making a point suicide.
but
he's trying to hurt her, not be done with his life. But I don't know.
But just taking the classic line, "The best revenge is living well."
Yeah,
That's what he did.
that's true.
So I think he wrote the book. He made her fall in love with him again, got her hopes up, and then see ya.
Yeah.
So how many other girls did he do this to?
Like how many dry runs did he have?
Well, 19 years worth.
Yeah. Once I get it right, I'm gonna really fuck over my ex-wife. Okay, I think it's time for quotes.
Those are good.
What
All
if
right.
he was the guy in bed with her daughter? You didn't see his
that-
face.
That would be the ultimate revenge.
That would be the most fucked
You
up.
didn't see his face.
Oof. All right, I'm gonna go first. I would not be surprised if most of our quotes come from the same guy. Mine's from
I was
Michael
stupid
Shannon.
and I didn't write down my quote, but I will try to remember it.
So mine came from Michael Shannon, and it's right after they found two of the guys who had kidnapped and murdered his wife and daughter, and they had to wait for the trial to get them on there. And he's like, "Okay, so I'm gonna do this." It's like, "All right, so what's gonna happen?" "Well, you're gonna wait for the trial, and I'm gonna go find Ray."
Yep.
And then he has this smile that's just like, "Oh, he's so excited to find that guy."
The smallest hint of a smile.
Oh, it's so good.
My quote is also from Michael Shannon,
Okay.
but to me showed more of the layeredness of his character, where they're sitting down, and where you find out that he's got cancer,
Right.
and he's trying to eat something, and Gyllenhaal goes, "Don't you have a daughter?" And he says, "Da da da, yeah," and I forgot where. And she's like, "Well, are you gonna go to her? Are you gonna talk to her?" And he goes, "Why? She doesn't know what's going on." Like he just that's not the exact quote, but you can just see it on his face that moment where to him that's not a joke. To him that's saying, "I don't want her to know I'm dying.
Right.
I don't want to
Yeah.
make her feel bad. She'll find out later." Like it's just his way of coping with the situation.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great character moment.
Here's a lot of them. Like, I'm gonna go find Ray.
I'll go. It's from Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, and it's probably the scariest line that he delivers for me is, "It's fun to kill people. You of all people should try sometime."
Yeah.
And just that whole conversation is fraught with tension, and just the fact that, I don't know, in moments where someone unveils their like true character in media like that, that's usually for me on a deep kind of instinctual level kind of a scary thing, because like, okay, finally the gloves are off. Here's how evil I'm going to be, and the protagonist is never ready for it. The reader is never ready for it.
Yeah.
And it's just a powerful moment.
And especially because you spend most of the movie with him straight up, near convincingly denying it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a sociopath.
Well, yeah, but that's why like, it's a relief and horrifying at the same time. Of, see, I knew it was you, and oh fuck, it was you.
Because then that thought is like, I knew it was you. You've just admitted to it. Now I have to take the next step. Now I have to kill you.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I have to. Then that just unpacks a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a hard moment, and I like that it's delivered to this movie's credit, kind of in an understated way.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful moment and a powerful line that I really liked.
Right.
Tom, do you want to go? I have two on deck.
Well, I will go because I had two, and that was one of mine.
Nice.
So I just go with the smoking line. I told you I got lung cancer. It's metastasized. I just smoke all the time. Yeah, well, that's how it works. What's the point of bringing it up? I'll be dead in a year.
Oh man,
That's a good one.
So you mentioned it earlier, Brian. My favorite poignant written line in the movie. Jake Gyllenhaal says it. Nobody writes about anything but themselves.
Oh, true. Mention that.
Yes, my favorite delivery is when they get Ray and Ray's like, "You can't do this. You're a cop. You're crazy, man." And Michael Shannon delivers, "I don't think so. I don't think so, Ray." It's so good.
Yeah, he's really good in this. Okay, so the review section today I don't think will be difficult because there's hundreds of these movies. It might be tougher to tie them into this movie, but we'll see.
Okay.
Any movie about literature, and you can take that however you want.
Literature.
Literature.
Dead Poet Society.
Oh, jeez.
Is that your final answer?
It is actually it kind of made me feel the same level of darkness, and it was really beautifully done. Both of them, yeah.
Mine's gonna be a weird one, but it's the one that I kept thinking about the whole time I was watching this movie, even though it's barely related. The Neverending Story.
No, that's what I was gonna do, and I love that movie, and you don't.
That's twice I've taken it from you. That gives me so much joy.
What's crazy is that he took it from you.
Twice.
You better fucking tie that in because there's a lot of things that I could tie into that right now.
Well, that sucks, doesn't it?
If you do it wrong, I'm just gonna build on it.
I'm choosing The Neverending Story because it's about a kid who reads a book and then we see the book unfold as the kid's reading it, and that's it.
That's it.
I had so much more to add, but I knew it was going to piss off Chewie if I went for less.
No, you go ahead. You go
No,
ahead.
no, it's fine. Hey, Chewie, which one's yours?
Oh, are we going to talk about how the Neverending Story
I've
is
already taken
about...
the Neverending Story. You have to go with a different one.
No, but how a Neverending Story is about a child dealing with the death of his mother, and how he doesn't know how to cope with it. And the nothing kind of symbolizes the entirety of his emotions towards death.
No, I'm just going with it's a kid reading a book.
Lord of the Rings is still available. Yeah. That's
Well, I just tied
about
into BRYAN, so.
Oh, okay. Neverending Story 2.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go. I will say The Princess Bride because it's a movie about revenge and
Nice.
a book being written.
Very nice.
And,
Awesome.
I don't know if it's as enjoyable of a ride as Princess Bride, but
Oh,
it's
definitely a
visually
ride.
stunning.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just gonna add in real fast that the fields of sadness or the bog of sadness or whatever is totally like kind of the same emotional level as we had during the entire car sequence in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Or it's just about a kid reading a book. Who
Amy
else?
Adams reads a book.
Yeah.
No.
I'll go. This one's kind of a little bit meta on it. The Road, and it's more of the relationship I had reading the book and then seeing the movie. But like that, I had that same kind of interplay of just being so wrapped up in the story, the book, being in it, just being so consumed by it, and then by the end be so devastated by it. And just to kind of mirror that kind of escapism that the book provides and the projection you do to books, like that relationship, I thought for me, connects that to this movie.
Okay, yeah, that works. Was that everybody? Cool. So that brings today's episode to a close on Nocturnal Animals. As I've been kind of doing lately, as you can tell around the table, I'd say we recommend it. It might not be your favorite movie in the world, but I'd say it's
You really have to be willing to sit with it, and yes, the beginning is jarring.
Yes, it's
Going with an open mind.
Yes, but it's a solid recommendation from After the Hype. So, plugs. You can find us, athpod.com, where you can find all of our new articles, like all of our Hype to Remembers. We have a few other ones. We have Cellulades, which was apparently Greg Rucka read one of our most recent articles there. Way to go, Emily, on getting Greg Rucka to read your Wonder Woman article. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And we got a new music segment.
I have not listened to it yet.
I've listened to it twice. It surprisingly works.
I didn't know there would be 3 or 4 entries from John Williams on there. I could have changed that. But I guess it was
that was
Star
on
Wars
purpose.
week,
That's
so.
on purpose.
Yeah, but that will be coming out every Friday morning. So if you're listening to this today on Thursday, tomorrow morning, you can get our next week's playlist. And it's going to be weekly. We're going to do somewhere between 15 to 25 songs.
Yeah, and it's on Spotify.
And it's on Spotify. So
And I will
and
not
what's cool-
send my music a day late.
yeah.
and what's cool about it is when you're listening to it, it pulls up the app, so you can navigate the rest of the site and read the articles. And your Spotify app is what's doing the work of playing that in bed.
That's
So,
a really smart move on their part.
yeah, it's
that's
really neat. So
Playing
you can
that
actually
in
read all
bed.
the articles,
Yeah.
all the cellulades, all the
They
hypes
embedded
to remember.
in bed. Yep.
In bed.
Yeah, or just listen in bed.
Make sure you're
but yeah,
naked.
I will promise now that I will put in one ridiculous, does not fit the rest of the songs, one song every week. This week's was Wild Wild West.
I thought that was a great.
I'm not
I
paying
thought it was great.
attention to any of the guys' music you guys had.
I thought it
Mine
fit.
were all over the board.
It actually kind of worked.
Sure, it's
So
a
I got-
soundtrack.
Yeah, I got to do better next time. But I will find one that will make people go,
Only
wait,
one of-
why?
Only one of my songs that I was going to put on was from a movie.
That's fine. You can put in whatever you want. That's the joy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what else do we have coming up? Nothing else, right? That's it.
Nope, that's it from us.
That's it from us. Tom, do you have anything to plug?
No, I've kind of been doing a whole lot of nothing. I went home, visited family.
Nice.
I recommend doing nothing. It's actually pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
that's a pretty solid
That's a
plug.
nice. That's a nice
No
thing.
responsibility is a good thing.
Do you have any new fashion lines or movies
Well,
coming up?
I got the hobo.
Oh, right, the hobo
spring.
line.
Yeah,
I forgot about that one. My bad.
It comes with the freak shotgun.
Nice.
Is it,
Shot off,
isn't it
right?
like
Shot off.
yeah.
what was it called?
Shot
Like
off, shot
derelict or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yes.
And Chewie, did you have any of your shows to plug right now or no?
Well, I'm back on Drunk History,
Yeah.
so.
But isn't the season finale of Superstore coming up here soon?
I think it already aired.
Did it already air?
Please go watch Superstar.
Yeah.
And then watch Drunk History and.
Whenever that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
If we're plugging our own projects, the shows we're working on, check out Last Call with Carson Daly. I work on that pretty regularly. We've actually done some awesome interviews with Michael Shannon, and we interviewed Isla Fisher for this movie. So those are all available on Hulu or on NBC.com.
Are they available on YouTube?
Not sure.
Okay.
Hulu.
I'm sure if you look hard enough,
So
you'll find them on
if
YouTube.
you, on my
I'd say-
shows, if you see a couch has moved a little bit, you can thank me for that. When you listen to Ryan's, something sounds a little pitchy or a nice good beat to everything, you can thank Ryan for that.
I don't make music. I record the interviews.
Yeah, but don't you control the levels?
Yeah, but not.
But not the mix.
But not in
Not the
post.
final mix in
Right.
post.
I'm trying to think of how they can think of you, Ryan.
If they can hear it, they can thank Ryan.
That's right. If you can't hear it, you can think locations.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tom, for coming out and for putting up with all of our Tom Ford jokes.
I expected more.
Actually,
I
I
did
did
say
too.
about Nocturnal Animals, man.
Yeah.
It was a good movie. It was a bad movie. It was a movie. Go see it.
Yeah.
I
And
would-
then,
Let's wait 8 more years for the next one.
yeah, perfect.
When we take our photo for this, we should definitely make sure we tweet it and such at Tom Ford and
Yeah.
ask him to tell us what he thinks of our outfits.
Yes, that'd be perfect. He's going to love my Spider-Man shirt.
He's gonna love my Hyrule shirt.
What do we have up next week?
Next week we have La La Land. And then the week after that, or it might be our Alien Battle. Those are the two that we are recording next Saturday for us. And I don't remember exactly which
So
one
it's
is
up
first.
in the air.
Yeah, so it depends on when Alien comes out, which I don't remember
Up
right
in the
now.
air, just like Emma Stone and Jake Gyllenhaal. Or not Jake Gyllenhaal.
No, and not Emma Stone. It was Anna Kendrick
And-
and George Clooney.
Wait, no, I'm talking up in the air in La La Land when they're floating.
Oh, Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
No spoilers. I haven't watched it till next week.
That was a crucial part.
I was just talking about the movie Up in the Air.
By the time
That
people
was a
listen to
decent
this
movie.
podcast, you will have watched it.
That's true.
So thank you very much. I know there's a million movie podcasts out there. We thank you for listening to this one.
Bye.